Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's look at the 15 most valuable illustration rares right now, see where they bottom out, and if it's time to pick them up before they rise up in value. Pokemon 151 will be excluded from this list, otherwise they'll just dominate this list. Starting our list off with a few cards in the $8 to $10 range. I think this is fair value for most illustration rares, since this is the range they all fall to when they first release. The ones that hold value here are usually earlier generations like 1 through 3. As you can see, Curly is Gen 3, Heracross Gen 2, or your playable like Cincino in the Lugia deck. Anything below this point is probably new Pokemon or just not very popular Pokemon. Even with amazing artwork, there's no demand for that Pokemon. It's just not going to hold the value. Next tier up is the $10 plus range. Each generation has a few fan favorites, and I think Gen 9 so far is favoring Mousehold. 2 starters not named Quaxley, and the pseudo legendary Excalibur. Not a fan of that artwork, but it's relevant in the Chien-Pao deck, so as long as it's playable in that deck, it's going to hold its value above the $8 low that it hit. If the artwork was different, like a Tyranitar or Groudon, where it's more menacing and imposing, I think it will probably be more valuable. Sprigatito is the most popular Gen 9 starter, and it's rising up in value now. Hit that low of $9 just like the other ones on this list so far. Now, at my previous video, I did mention to pick up this card or the rest of the Paldean starters as a collection-wise, just because I think people want those who play Scarlet and Violet. I think it's going to be a great first page to look at. I'm working on my Paldean national decks, and that's going to be the first page I see, and I'm going to be super hyped to get those cards. Waltz at number 6 is still only $13, has held very strong at $9. Considering Scarlet and Violet base set has extremely easy pull rates, this card along with Curlia and Gardevoir show us our first evolution storyline, which is going to be great for collectors. I love looking at that straight across on the binder. I expect this card to rise up above its $18 release day price, since Gardevoir is playable now, so that might create some scarcity among collectors that maybe it's time to pick up this card if you want the whole set. Next up on the list, Steelix. Very sus it's up this much. I think this card true value is probably around the $13 to $15 range. It bottomed out at $9, so that's where the Ralts is, and Ralts is just $13 now, and that one had release date price of $18. So that's where the price range I expect Steelix to be, under $20, in the $15 to $20 range maybe. It's more valuable than the Kennel starters, or at least the middle stages, so that's a little sus. Steelix is popular, but not that popular to be that valuable up there in my eyes. Next up, at number 5, we have Ghastly. Release day price of $21, hit a low of $16 after it spiked up to well above $40, I believe, but giving it back 24% of it. I think that's true value. $15, $16 is the next tier up you'll see from this list. And I think that's fair value for where Gengar, well, this card is treated like a Gengar card. I don't think Ghastly itself will hold value like that, but Gengar VMAX straight on everybody's mind. I think people are just trying to invest in anything that is Gengar related, hoping it goes up in value, which they saw happen in the buyout situation, but we'll see if it goes back to that level anytime soon. Next up at number 4, Tyranitar, one of my personal favorite illustration rares. Release date price of $31, hit a low of $16, which is the same as Ghastly. So this is the tier above the previous tier. It held that price for a very long time, that $15 to $20 range for months on end until the recent spike up. After release, you do see the same thing with Raichu, which hit a low of $15 as well. So again, we see this just parallel line of flat of just in a range. That's going to be the best time to pick up a card for a great deal. You don't know when they're going to explode in price like this Groudon, but you do know when the price is a good value pickup, because this Groudon was released at $28 but hit a low of $22. That $22 is within the same range where Tyranitar was holding strong at that $20 mark. So that was a great time to pick it up. As you saw for months, it was just flat in that range. Because you can't control when it explodes. It could be because it's playable, or because there's a buyout, or it's just the FOMO that creates the escalation of price jump. And usually it doesn't fall to the same lows as before. It will just give some back before people want to jump in again. I would say the $15 to $25 range is probably the good range for high value Pokemon cards, at least in illustration rares, except for this Magic card, which happens to be the most valuable card outside of Greninja. So this is going to be the most expensive card in the Scarlet and Violet era soon, because that Greninja price is going to fall more as more cards become available. But this one's sitting at $125. Yeah, I don't know if this card's ever going to drop back down again. But it had a release date price of $78. Did drop to $44 for like a couple days maybe at most, and then just kept on gradually going up. And there was the buyout that spiked to over $100. Now I don't see this card ever dropping below $100 again, unless there is a major reprint with better pull rates, which is unlikely. So with Twilight Masquerade, I think these cards will probably fall into the $8, $9, $10 range. They're already $11, so they'll probably drop a little bit or just hold that value around that same price because they are Kanto Pokemon. Growlithe is a Kanto Pokemon, just a little variation of it. Tatsugiri is pretty popular Pokemon. It fits in the cute category of Pokemon, and you've seen that kind of in the mousehold niche. Eevee is the one that's the outlier. I think Eevee is just as popular as the Kanto starters at this point. With evolutions fresh in everyone's mind that it has crazy value, it will probably fall into the upper 20s, kind of where the Kanto starters are at right now. I think Twilight Masquerade does have harder pull rates now than 151, so that's kind of the idea of where I think this card will fall to. Let me know what you guys think Eevee will fall to. To wrap things up, I think there are tiers to how low illustration rares will fall to if you want to pick them up at fair value. Most cards will fall below $5, especially if you're a newer Pokemon. With all the supply that gets opened up, the ones that hold value in their names probably will hold around the $8, $9, $10 range. But the tier above that is where the really popular Pokemon will fall to. Like Tyranitar, Groudon, Ghastly / Gengar card only fall to $15, so it's above a tier above. And then now with harder pull rates, like the Eevee card, I think it's going to fall to where the Kanto starters are, max popularity, mid-20s, right? They're not going to drop below that area. And Magikarp, that's the outlier. That's the Lumbreon of the Scarlet Violet era. It's gonna be the most expensive card. That's why it didn't drop at all, or barely drop at all. But guys, thanks for watching. I make similar videos like this. If you wanna watch the next one, you can click one of these. I'll catch you guys in next week's video.